2022 has been one of my favorite years of cinema of all time. A lot of phenomenal movies that were supposed to be released in the previous years were pushed back due to the pandemic and dumped into 2022, which saw a huge influx of massive blockbusters and mind-bending creativity. I didn't get a chance to see many films that would have potentially made this list, such as The Whale and Aftersun, Triangle of Sadness. Thank you, Australia, for being late on every movie release, pushing the release of this video back over a month. Anyways, remember guys that this is just my list, so let me know yours down below. I'd love to hear what movies resonated with you all. My honorable mentions, which are in the order that they barely missed the list, starting at number 16, include Pearl, a fantastically colorful and introspective dark character study. 15, 3,000 Years of Longing, an overlooked movie with an unorthodox structure and a style that would have been a lot more memorable in a different year for a couple reasons we'll get to later. Number 14, The House. Beautiful stop motion animation that tells 3 unique and specific short stories ranging from horrifying to melancholically hopeful. 13, X, a glossy, masterful foray into the slasher genre throwing back to the era of Texas Chainsaw. 12, Glass Onion, one of the most unabashedly fun movies of the year with the most striking colors. It's got a huge and skillful cast and forced a smile on my face from start to finish, even if the mystery wasn't quite as compelling as the first. And 11, Barbarian, the most ambitious horror movie of the year that I saw by far, switching tones and genres regularly with huge surprises, even for a seasoned horror veteran. There are some missed opportunities and the ending doesn't land quite as well as the setup, but an absolute thrill ride from start to finish that just barely missed the top 10. And number 10 is Top Gun Maverick. While I'm very specifically not a huge fan of action movies unless they manage to go above and beyond like Mad Max Fury Road did, Top Gun Maverick pulled all of the stops to execute an admittedly simple story, but with expert craftsmanship. Sure, it's not exactly the most intricate plot of the year, but it doesn't need to be. The practical effects do wonders for a theater-going experience, miles above the bland green screening of most action blockbusters. The movie is fun and funny, but has stakes, it's shot beautifully, and it brings back heart to the big screen. Feels like we need to deconstruct everything lately. It all needs to be subversive and meta, so it's nice to have one movie that just did a good old-fashioned blockbuster that everyone can get behind. The opening scene alone clearly indicates the effort that the team wanted to put into the experience to make it feel big and real, and every time you think the movie is done, it one-ups itself yet again. One of the best theater experiences of the year and a return to form for a genre that has been stale for me for years. At 9, I have The Banshees of Inisherin. Banshees is one of the more cerebral movies of the year, not with flashy, intricate twists, but in the subtlety of the script and performances. I will admit this is a movie that is harder to get into at first, but there's so much under the surface that it keeps you thinking about it long after the credits roll. It's surprisingly hilarious and wonderfully allegorical while still being an enticing story on its own. The performances are stellar, and it's not 3 hours long, which for some reason is an exception to the rule in 2022. Colin Farrell and Barry Keoghan, I don't know how to pronounce that, Keoghan, specifically stood out as being amazing, as well as the glorious location. The directing and cinematography aren't necessarily flashy, but they showcase the natural beauty and isolation of the location flawlessly. While I still prefer 3 Billboards, this is a fantastic follow-up, and I can't wait to see what Martin McDonagh does next. Number 8, Smile. Yeah, this is a hot take, I'm aware. In the same way Top Gun Maverick was a simple action movie executed by top-notch artists at the top of their crafts, Smile was a very simple scene-before horror movie that executed its premise to its fullest. Now, I'm not going to argue Smile is a better movie than Banshees of Inisherin, but there's a reason that this is my top 10 favorites of the year, not the objective top 10 best movies of the year. I particularly enjoyed the use of color in this film, and as someone who has seen hundreds of horror movies at this point, it was nice to actually feel genuinely scared a couple moments in the theaters. While I did mention Barbarian, X, and Pearl previously on the list, this is the only one that actually had moments that frightened me. The practical effects of the creature towards the end are seared into my brain so permanently that I think, in turn, the movie stuck with me enough to warrant a position on this list. Is it the best movie of the year? Absolutely not, but it was an amazing horror theater experience that rekindled my love for the genre. Apparently it's derivative of The Ring, which I have yet to see, so I'd likely place this lower if I had, but I haven't, so yay Smile. I suppose I'm just kind of happy that they went there with some of the scares. So often with these types of film, they're just left to be PG-13 wastes, but this movie is definitely R, and it benefits so much from it. Number 7 is All Quiet on the Western Front. So I went into this with no expectations, not having seen the original, or read the book, and goddamn did that make this a fantastic experience. I will say though that this was probably the hardest movie to get through all year for me. It gets relentlessly and unbearably cruel and depressing at points, so much so that it will absolutely limit the pool of people who would willingly submit themselves to the experience. But from the raw emotions to the genuine performances, the unique perspectives, and the unbelievable production values, I pulled away a message that has stuck with me since I finished the film. It's a powerful and grueling film. I also want to comment that some of the makeup and effects are, I guess, hyper-realistic. Like the blood is extra red, the dirt is extra grimy, and it really pulls me into the film. Number 6, Babylon. Yeah, Babylon is insane. Babylon is chaos. You probably won't love Babylon, and I won't blame you. It's a little unfocused, has too many characters, and I absolutely adore it. So like I said, Babylon is definitively not for everyone, and I can see why so many people have recoiled from it. It's unbelievably raunchy, surpassing the likes of even Wolf of Wall Street. But I have to say that this was one of my favorite immersive experiences of the year. It's so ambitious in the amount of ground it covers, a lot of it allegedly based in the realities of 1920s Hollywood. I love how disgusting and unlikable it makes Hollywood, because I don't particularly have a fond image of Hollywood in my mind anyways, so to see them crap on themselves is, well, kind of rewarding. But it still showcases the spark of creativity it takes to make a great movie. It's probably the funniest movie of the year in my mind, and the skill on display in front of and behind the camera is unmatched. The script is where most people are going to take issue, but I found the messages to be powerful. They definitely could have cut a moment or two from the runtime, and maybe even cut a character or two, as it would have made it more focused and less overly long, but this movie has stuck with me, and it encourages discussion in the way good cinema should. And I loved the soundtrack. I'm a huge Damien Chazelle fan, he's probably my favorite director out there, so I might be a little biased here, okay? I'm willing to admit that. Number 5, The Menu. So this is my choice for the best horror movie of the year, and it was also my favorite theater-going experience of the year, filled with smiles from start to end. This is a hilarious, tension-filled, satisfying, intelligent watch, dense with content from start to finish. I suppose it leans further into the realm of thriller than pure horror, or at least horror comedy. I found the standouts of the film to be the way it integrated very particular edits into the comedy and storytelling, and definitely the location. It really hit home how unique and particular this movie is. It's targeting the niche of extremely rich foodies, which is not something that I personally have any experience or interest in, but it made it approachable enough to give a solid message, bring tons of laughs and attention. Number 4, I can't believe I'm saying this either, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Puss in Boots is unironically in contention for my favorite animated movie of all time. It has my favorite animated villain of all time for sure. This film is unironically terrifying for a children's movie and is being overlooked because of the more quote-unquote artsy film in Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Yeah, that film is a visual wonder, but it just didn't fully work for me as I found it to be tonally inconsistent and I just couldn't stand the soundtrack, other than a few songs. But just generally, it didn't grip me, but this film absolutely did. And like I said, Puss in Boots has the best animated villain of all time in my book in the Big Bad Wolf, and it goes deeper than most adult movies will into PTSD, the fear of death, and other topics not typically explored in children's movies. The animation is phenomenal, the music is phenomenal, the whole thing is filled with life and color. I absolutely loved it, and my only minor complaint is that a few jokes didn't land. Outside of that, it's essentially a perfect animated movie to me. Number 3, Tar. Tar is the most intelligent and thoughtful movie of the year, hands down. A movie that dares to tackle the biggest issues in a social climate that does not accept such commentary. But it provides no easy answers and relies on the audience to digest and consider. It's been playing as a Rorschach test to the viewer, seemingly showing audiences exactly what they want to see. But those who are willing to look deeper into the film will find something to challenge them in one way or another. The film balances multiple genres flawlessly, has the best lead actress performance of the year on a technical level, and gripped me from the opening scene to the end. It's subtly beautifully shot, with less flashy cinematography, but it's such a genuine movie that feels so earnest and real. A rewatch is necessary to even fully grasp most aspects of this multi-layered character study, and I can't wait to see it for a third time. I love how it explores power in all of its forms and how corrupting it really can be. Number 2, The Batman. So I'm not a huge comic book movie fan, I'm not in love with the MCU, and I haven't been head over heels for many comic books movies at all, save for a few like Guardians of the Galaxy, but The Batman rekindled my appreciation for the universes comic books can create. The fact that it didn't get nominated for Best Cinematography is a crime, as every shot is oozing with grit and glory. The sound nomination should end with a victory in my mind, as sound defines the experience of Batman. You can hear him approaching through the rain before you see him, hearkening back to the terror of the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. The humor is dry yet extremely effective in my mind, filled with subtle glances and the occasional one-liner from Penguin, who steals the scene every time he's present. Bruce Wayne is a tortured soul portrayed as grimy and disgusting, as it should be. His eyes are bloodshot from lack of sleep, and he almost elicits pity with his inability to experience positive emotions. This makes his interactions with Catwoman all the more important to him and the viewer, which feel heightened with comic book dramatization. The soundtrack is my favorite of the year. The costume design is my favorite of the year. This is top of the line in just about every category. Saw is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and Seven is my favorite detective movie of all time, so the fact that this film manages to go to the gruesome places it does and harken back to some of my favorites feels specifically targeted to my taste. I can't believe this movie managed to be PG-13. And the action is realistic and powerful. But beyond all of that is the heart of the movie, and what really sold me on it was the arc of our main character, and specifically the shot with the flare. If you know, you know. I can't believe this movie was outdone by any this year, but number one is Everything Everywhere All at Once. This redefined cinema to me. I thought as the film started that we'd get a heartwarming, low-scale drama like The Farewell from 2019, but Everything Everywhere shattered everything 20 times during its runtime. Sure, I don't love the hot dog fingers, but just about every other scene had me aching to see what's next. It had me laughing one moment, tearing up the next, and overflowing with joy right after that. It's an absolute roller coaster of emotions assembled by a small and passionate team. I hope it wins just about everything at the Oscars, and every one of the main and side characters of this movie are iconic, steal the show, and are unbelievably personalized. The message is timely and relevant, and I can't imagine another movie being at the top despite how many amazing films were released this year. I've only seen it the one time, and I can't wait to watch it 10 more and share it with everyone I know. Well, that's my list. How about you guys let me know your top 10 list down below, and hope you all have a great day. Peace.